Out the insurance cards, get out the copay. The office is open, my friends. It is a wonderful Tuesday night. I'm here a little bit earlier than usual, but I kind of like it. Trust me, Mrs. Roto likes it. This way, I still have the night to myself. So, but I'm glad to be here from 7 to 9 p.m. Got a great show tonight. Got my man Jason Braddock joining me in hour number 1. I might have a special guest coming up in hour number 2. And of course, we have you guys out there participating in this show. So chime in with comments, questions. It's, of course, Waiver Wire Tuesday. I've done my waiver wires in all my leagues except my high stakes leagues, which is arguably the most important leagues. But I need this is like when Mrs. Roto goes to bed, that's when I get busy. That's when I start sitting there and I could take the 2 or 3 hours and just go in and identify from every team and figure out mostly when you bid heavily and when you don't. When do you go all in and when do you not? So let's look at last week, for example. Mike Boone. Did you go in heavily on Mike Boone? Or did you lay off like I told you? Or did you go in and put a respectable bid in where if you got him, you got him, but if you didn't, so be it. That's what I did, and I ended up getting him in a couple of leagues. A couple of leagues, I got him. I was like, really? All right, cool. I'll take him. Wasn't special. But you know who's special this week? Kenneth Walker III. He's a very special man. Now, I will ask Jason Braddock. It'll be the first question I ask Jason. I'll say, what do you think of Kenneth Walker? And you know what he's going to say? I can guarantee it. I can't do it in the Jason accent, but I will tell you he's going to say he was his number 1 guy in the rookie class. He's his favorite running back this year. He's a guy that you want. Now, some guys you go all in on, and he might be that guy. In fact, I'll take it back. I think he pretty much is that guy. Now, there's always a guy who comes up in the second half of the season. There's always a guy in week 11, the no Sean Moreno, who's of the world, who emerge. And you're like, who? I don't know who that's going to be this year. But there's always a guy in the first half who emerges, like Elijah Mitchell. This year's guy is Kenneth Walker. So look, here's what we know about Kenneth Walker. Played at Michigan State. Really shifty guy. Got a good second gear. Not the best in pass. Not the best hands. So let's not be caught up in that. But on first and second down, he's a really good player. I feel very badly for Rashad Penny, but I think this is one of those things where if I had Dr. Jesse Morse on with me, he'd say, have you seen his injury history? We know how bad that injury history is. It's awful. So I guess I hate to say it this way. It was to be expected because Penny always gets injured. You know, my joke is it's the middle of the night. Guy walks to the bathroom and gets injured. All right. So Carlo's out there, Meatball G10, the man who won the Lawrence Taylor helmet. By the way, that was a great gift. Every day at 11 a.m. here at the Bettor Sports Network, they're giving away a collectible. Today's was awesome. A Mark Messier jersey? Sign me up for that one. I don't know who won that one, but give your friend Dr. Roto a call because I'm interested in that jersey too. And my man Spy007 said, thanks me for the advice. He got Shakir and he drafted Walker. The high stakes team is looking up. I also gave you Alec Pierce. So I got some nuggets for you tonight, some guys that definitely want you to have. Look, Walker is real deal, so let's get back to that. If I am bidding, I think he's absolutely worth about $600 or $700. I think that's the right amount. Is that aggressive? Maybe, but you got to be aggressive. How many top running backs are going to be out there? How many starters are going to be out there? Now, I'm not talking about Pierre Strong. I'm talking about Kenneth Walker. I'm talking about a guy who can get 20 carries a game. So those guys are few and far to come by. They're not easy. So when he's out there, you got to pounce. My only reservation, and this one, be very careful with this. I'm never the guy who bids $800 or $900 because it's a long season. Here we are. It's week 6. The bye weeks have just started. I can't leave myself with $50. So I'll probably bid, let's say, $650, $680, $700, and leave myself with about $300 the rest of the season. If I've already spent $100, I'll leave myself with $200 the rest of the season. It's damaging. But I know it ain't Walker. Now, we saw what he did last week. Now, we can't expect that every week, but Pete Carroll loves to run the football. Pete Carroll loves to run the football. Now, I stacked the Seahawks and Saints. Two things hurt my chance for winning $1 million, and I wasn't far off, by the way. One, Kenneth Walker breaks off that score. I was hoping that Geno would throw it. And B, I had Alvin Kamara, and Taysom Hill decides he's going to run one in. So we'll talk about Taysom Hill later as well. But Kenneth Walker is somebody we're absolutely identifying. All right, let us take a look at some news and notes and storylines. So I've got Carolina on my mind. This team is in disarray. That said, I like Steve Wilks. I thought he had a raw deal in Arizona. They gave this guy 1 year. He had a crappy year, and they fired him. I thought he deserved better. The players never quit on him. In fact, from what I understand, the players liked him. But all of a sudden, after a year, boom, it was Cliff Kingsbury. Get him in there. Ooh, he's special. Is he really that special? I don't like Cliff Kingsbury at all. I think he may go down as one of the most overrated coaches ever. Everybody, air raid offense. I don't know. The only raid I need is the stink because it smells like bugs out there. It's terrible. Has Kyler been special? Kyler in the air raid offense. This is going to be dynamic. It's not so dynamic. Now, when DeAndre Hopkins gets back with Hollywood Brown and Zach Ertz and Rondale Moore, I'm open. I'm open to seeing if it changes. But right now, it's not so dynamic. Matt Rule was over his head. Matt Rule was over his head. It never was good. The only thing I will argue is that the defense did play better this year. And I thought they did a good job drafting defensive players. Jeremy Chin is good. J.C. Horn, very good. They had Derek Brown, not bad. They had a few nuggets there. This Luvu is a pretty good player too. But the offense is putrid. And when you're clamoring for Sam Darnold to return, what does that tell you about your team? When you sit there and go, just wait till Sam Darnold gets back, that's not good. So a moment about Baker Mayfield. I am in a couple of dynasty leagues. One of them is a Sirius XM dynasty league. And I have Baker Mayfield along with Dak Prescott, Kenny Pickett, and Mitch Trubisky. I think I'm dropping Baker Mayfield. I feel like, what do I want him for? What do I need him for? He had an opportunity. He had Christian McCaffrey. He had DJ Moore. What did he do with it? Where else is he going to go that he's going to be that much better? Now, I'm not dropping him for nothing, but I will drop him when the right guy comes up. I'm not going to drop him for Trent Sherfield or David Sills. But if a guy emerges, I'll drop him in a heartbeat. Easy. Can Carolina fix this? I don't know. It's going to take some time. But you have McCaffrey and you have Moore. But the problem is, I'm hearing all these rumors that they want to trade these guys. But don't forget, football is not baseball. Baseball, they trade guys for a minor leaguer. You don't do that in football. And are you trading DJ Moore for a third-round pick? I mean, is that really what he's worth? I think he's worth a whole lot more than that. And who are you playing? Shee Smith? I mean, seriously. Who are your wide receivers? Terrace Marshall and Shee Smith? That doesn't scare anybody. In fact, it may scare kids when they realize that. Like, ooh, it's pretty scary. It's horrible. So I don't know it gets better. I know I would try to trade McCaffrey if I could get anything for him. But what I'd rather do is suck epically, get the number one pick, get CJ Stroud in there, and now all of a sudden I'm going to be competitive in a year. I'm not that far away from being competitive. I think that's the move that I'm going to make. That's the move that I think helps Carolina. But Matt Rule, man, he goes into that list of guys who are good college coaches who just were overwhelmed in the NFL. Just wasn't that good. And I get that he wanted to surround himself with people he was comfortable with. I get that. But just drafting and picking up guys who played at Temple who know your system is not good enough to win in the NFL. Your job is to take a guy who didn't play at Temple, coach him up, get him out there on Sundays, and win 10 games. You can't do that. So you take a year off, you go back, And, we'll see where you end up. I'm sure he'll end up in college somewhere. I don't know, Nebraska, some school, I don't know, Northern Iowa. He'll end up somewhere, Bowling Green. The dude will end up somewhere. And he'll be fine. All right. Heavy T says never drafting another Saint as long as Taysom Hill is there. Well, let's talk about Taysom Hill. He is the most annoying player for fantasy football managers. So let me be as clear as I possibly can be about Taysom Hill. One, I do enjoy watching him play. I do. If he qualifies at tight end in your league, without question, you pick him up. And I talked about this with Moose yesterday. Austin Hooper or Taysom Hill, who would you rather? Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill or Cole Kmet, who would you rather? Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill or Albert O, who would you rather? Taysom Hill. Now, if Taysom Hill gives me nothing but big, fat, stinky goose eggs for the next 3 weeks, but in the fourth week, the guy goes for 38 points. If I'm in a total points league, I divide that out and I got myself 9 points a week. But look, if Taysom Hill gives me a goose egg, what is Daniel Bellinger giving me? 4.8? I mean, I'd rather take the shot that Taysom Hill makes 1 or 2 plays and scores a touchdown. So he has value as a tight end. And on ESPN, I believe he qualifies as a tight end. He has no value, in my opinion, as a quarterback. Why? Because unless they give him the starting quarterback's job, I can't play him. Now, if they give him the starting quarterback's job, sign me up. I'm all in. No doubt in my mind will I go after Taysom Hill. But that doesn't seem to be happening. And if anything, I think Jameis Winston is sliding under the radar. So, that being said, I would think that Taysom Hill is worth a couple of dollars if you can get him as a tight end. And he's practically worthless as a quarterback because quarterbacks, even bad ones, get 13 to 16 points. I can't give that up. So Tyler here, or is it Anthony, one of the two, who do a very good job here on the show as my producers. What if he's listed as a quarterback, but if it's a super flex league? Still dangerous as a quarterback. I mean, Justin Fields is horrible, but even Justin Fields at 161 yards passing and 40 yards rushing is still 12 points. Not having 12 points will hurt me more than not having 3.8 Daniel Bellinger points. So that's the problem with Taysom Hill as a quarterback. Unless they put him there, unless they use him there, unless they're running the Wildcat exclusively. Maybe they are. There was some report today. I'll find it. Please hold. Please continue to hold. Thank you for holding. Oh, here we go. New Orleans football's Mike Triplett believes Taysom Hill will remain a huge part of the Saints' rushing offense. But Sunday was a good reminder that Hill's always been and should remain a huge part of the New Orleans rushing package. Can I guarantee that? No. I trust Mike Triplett, though. He knows his stuff. It's pretty good. So, take a shot. Let's see. All right, I've got one more note before we take a break. If I am a team that knows I can't win, I think I have to figure out at what point do I start my younger players. And this goes to the Atlanta Falcons. The Steelers figured they can't play with Mitch Trubisky 1 minute longer. Let's go with Kenny Pickett. At what point do the Falcons sit back and say, you know what? We can't win right now with Marcus Mariota. Let's give Desmond Ridder a shot. Now, Desmond Ridder, if Marcus Mariota is a 10 as a runner, he's not, but let's call him a 10. Ridder's probably a 6. But if Mariota is a 10 as a thrower, Ridder's probably a 15. He's just better. And they're not throwing the ball effectively enough in Atlanta. So I want to see right now what Ridder can do for me. Because I need to know really soon whether I'm building my team around Ridder or whether I'm going out and getting another quarterback next year's draft. I don't think 3 games of Ridder will be enough. I think it's probably going to need to be about 10 games of Ritter to know what I have. And that's going to be that magic number, because if I have 10 games of Ritter, then my expectations are that I'll have enough time to see him. And if I can see him and know what I have, I then can decide what I need to do with my draft. So if you have Desmond Ritter, I think his time is coming. Might be this week, might be next week, but it's coming. All right, going to take my first time out. When we come back, I want to talk about a couple of things. Oh, by the way, we're giving out a jersey, a Giannis jersey. That's nice. Tomorrow on Bettor Sports Live with Rick Campbell and Lisa Ann. Lisa Ann is awesome. One of the nicest people I know. Really one of the nicest, most genuine people I know. All right, taking the time out. When we come back, we're going to talk a little about trading. I think this trading is very important. I got a trade that I heard about today that I want to tell you about. And of course, bad penalty calls. We'll be back right after this.
Bettor. Bettor Sports Live with Rick Kamla.
He went to Denver to swindle a desperate franchise out of $250 million. What Russell Wilson did. He went to Denver in the great state of Colorado and bamboozled them all, including me. And now he is just bilking $250 million from these people. These poor people, they don't deserve this. Totally on board with the decision to bring on Russell Wilson. Totally on board. I don't regret it to this day. Absolutely the right move. Bold, aggressive move, make a big trade, pay him all the money, bring him in. Now you're in the Super Bowl fast lane. Let's go giddy up Peyton Manning style. Russ is the one who has not held up his end of the bargain. This is on him, and I am looking at him completely differently right now.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis. Weekdays at 5 Eastern.
I wasn't going to mention it. I wasn't going to bring anything up.
Granted slowly to third. Manny charges his. Now plays the hop. Throw to first is in time. And the Padres have not only captured the moment, they have captured the wild card series.
Really sucks when it comes to our New York Mets. They lost. Joe Musgrove's ears were pretty shiny, but whatever. They found nothing growing, and just like that, 101 wins out the window.
Yeah, I mean, disappointing performance to end the season. They played their worst baseball over the last month. They didn't do much at the trade deadline, which came back to hurt them all year. I said it was imperative that they win the division because of what happened. You put yourself in a 3-game series now where, you run into a team with good starting pitching like the Padres with Yu Darvish and Musgrove dominating, and this is what happened. So definitely a disappointing season, at least the end to the season, and they didn't come through when they needed to. They needed one win in Atlanta in the 3-game series. They didn't get it, and they showed up Saturday and did not show up at all last night. Just one hit, just really bad, man. So I want my refund for the divisional round because I did get tickets. And then they tell you, oh, you're not going to get your refund until 3 to 4 weeks after the conclusion of the postseason. Really? 2 months? Come on, give me my money now. You're not playing it. Give me my money back.
Maybe they have net 60 or something.
No, man, just give me my money. You're not playing. I want my money back.
Yeah, don't worry.
Shouldn't have to wait.
You'll win it back with your fantasy basketball league anyway, Ronis. We know how it goes, okay? We know how it goes.
Bettor Sports Network is betting, fantasy, collectibles. It's sports talk done better. The doctor is in. Get your prescription to win fantasy sports and betting on Bettor Sports Network.
I'm a little crushed. My producer, Tyler, just put a note here. Yordan Alvarez just hit a walk-off 3-run homer in the bottom of the 9th to win it for the Astros. I'm torn because I like the Astros. I've been on Houston radio for years now. I think we're getting close to 10 years. So a part of me loves the Astros. But a part of me was rooting for the Mariners too, because I love to see these underdog teams who have, haven't been there in a while to get a shot. And the Mariners are playing really well, but Yordan Alvarez, that dude can hit. So now I think that the Mariners may be out of there quickly. They win tonight, they hang on a little bit, maybe they, who knows? But if they lose today, it's over. But it'll be very interesting. Okay. Spy has a question, quarterback question, and an FFWC Online Championship League. I have Matthew Stafford and Trevor Lawrence. Would you drop either to add Geno Smith or drop Van Jefferson? I would drop Van Jefferson, who doesn't look good for Van, and even when Van's there, it doesn't look good. And I would go with the three-headed Hydra for now, and then I would drop one of the quarterbacks in the future for something I might need. But I know that I don't like rostering three quarterbacks, but in this case, I don't trust Lawrence, I don't trust Stafford, and I don't trust Geno. So 1% of fab. Because I don't need, there's a difference between wanting Geno and needing Geno. So let me tell you something here. I don't love Geno this week. I don't love him this week. The Cardinals have been surprisingly decent in covering receivers. They've been surprisingly horrible covering tight ends. So I would think will be a Geno 20-point week. 18-point week? Let's call it 18 points for Geno. I know he's had much higher weeks, but I don't see this as a bigger week for him. So that said, I won't spend too much. So Spy, how much fab do you have left? Give me the number. Drop that in the box, and then we'll discuss it. Because I'm thinking if Spy has like I'm like a guy who likes to round, So if it's $823, I might spend $23. If it's $832, I might spend. He's got $883. Look at that, $23, maybe $33 if I really, really felt like I needed him. Nothing more than I wouldn't go more than that because you already have Stafford, you already have Lawrence. Geno is not a must play. He's a guy that we want to play. So I would think 23 if you don't care, 33 if you care. Let's see if we get it. All right. So I get a DM today from somebody I've known for a long time. And he says, would you trade away Justin Jefferson for Breece Hall Roto, Cortland Sutton, and Hollywood Brown? And he says the only running backs that he has are CMC and Dillon. And I basically say to him, no. Firstly, I'm not making that trade because DeAndre Hopkins is coming back. Not interested in Hollywood Brown. That's just fleeting. When Hopkins comes back, Brown's value goes down. So then he goes, what if I got Keenan Allen? Better. Still not doing it. Justin Jefferson is the number one or number two receiver in football. Will he have bad days? Absolutely. The Vikings will have bad days. They're the Vikings. That's what they do. They have bad days. And I love Breece Hall Roto, but he's still on the Jets. How many touchdowns is he scoring? Cortland Sutton is good, but the Denver offense has been putrid. Nathaniel Hackett couldn't call a game if he was like the only team out there. He still would figure out a way not to score. And Keenan Allen's dealing with a hamstring injury. If I have CMC and I have Justin Jefferson, why do I need that deal? Now, do I love A.J. Dillon? No, he's been a disappointment. That doesn't mean I don't like him. I've just been disappointed. But I look at it this way, and I always bring it down to cars. If you had a Mercedes, would you want 3 Toyotas? 3 Toyota Corollas? Maybe a little better car, maybe a Camry. I don't know. I don't know if you would. Actually, you know what? He's not a Mercedes. Let's call him a Bentley. Justin Jefferson's a Bentley. Would you want 3 Camrys or would you want a Bentley? Well, I do have a family of 6, and a Toyota Camry is a practical car. I would like that. Exactly, Spy. Bentley, please. You want to be styling, driving around in style, baby. You and the nature boy. Whoa. Going down in South Beach in the Bentley. You go to South Beach in the Camry, nobody's looking at you. You go to South Beach in the Bentley, popping bottles, people are looking at you. You know what I'm saying? So I want the Bentley. Don't make a trade where you're giving up a Bentley and getting 3 Camrys. All right. Meatball. My man Carlos says sitting with CMC, Aaron Jones, Damian Pierce, and Walker. Do I shop one? Yes and no. It's a good question. It depends. First question I always ask is, how many running backs can you play? If you can play 3, then I may not shop one so fast because I want to always be able to play 3. Right, you could play 3. And if I can play 3, I have one guy who I could use in case of an injury or in case of a bye week. So you've got a distinct advantage there. CMC, you're never sitting. Dameon Pierce, we love Dameon Pierce, right? And then between Jones and Walker, I like Jones. Now, do you want to keep Walker on the bench? No. But you know what I also don't want? I don't want to give you Walker either. I don't want to give you Aaron Jones either. So unless you're upgrading me at receiver dramatically, I'm not doing it. Now, so let's say if I could give you, so Walker, does Walker and Amon-Ra St. Brown become Justin Jefferson? Well, then I'm interested. But even then, I'm interested. Justin Jefferson's a Bentley. But I'm giving up 2 Beamers for Bentley. Right? So think of it that way. But I think I hold. And here's why. You win leagues 2 ways. You win DFS tournaments in 2 ways. 1, stars and scrubs. You get the best stars, and if you have the right scrubs, you win. Easy peasy. You know, you start a lineup last week with Cooper Kupp and Justin Jefferson and Josh Allen, good things happen in your DFS future. The other way you win is by having supreme depth. And when injuries happen, you always have guys who can come in and just be there. Now, the problem with so much depth is that you almost have decisions to make every week. But I love in high stakes when I have one of those teams where I look up and down my team and I don't have a weak spot. And I look up and go, nice team. That team is built to win because it's a long season. And the team you have today could be the injury you have tomorrow. And then all of a sudden, you don't have exactly what you thought you had. And now you're in trouble. So hold the depth, but be open. Somebody contacts you. Let me share this with you. This is for Carlo and everybody else out there. Think of it this way. I shop something to you. You didn't want it, but when you call me up, you're giving me more. If you say, hey, is Aaron Jones available? Well, now I know you want Aaron Jones. If I say to you, hey, I have Aaron Jones available, I'm not getting as much. Always getting more when the guy calls me than when I call him. That doesn't mean you shouldn't be a good owner, right? And good manager and make deals, but you always get more when somebody finds you. It's just how it works in life, right? You do the chasing, you need to be chased, right? When you're chased, good things happen. Good things also happen when Jason Braddock joins me because he's a smart dude who knows a whole lot about football. Love talking to him. By the way, I got confirmation my surprise guest is coming at 8:30. Armando Marçal from Fantasy Gurus joining me. The mind of Marçal, he's got a sharp one in fantasy football. Really excited about tonight's show. It went from here to here, and we've got Jason Braddock right after this.
Talk done better. Lunch Money with Kyle and Ray. Weekdays at noon Eastern, presented by FantasyGuru.com.
Right now, Ray, it is Cooper Kupp and nothing with this offense.
There goes Kupp. Needs the block. Gets it. 30, 20, 10, 5. Touchdown, Cooper Kupp.
And Kupp, to his credit, still gets his. But, Ray, it's almost like this offense is so fixated on Cooper Kupp that nothing else. We can all complain about Stafford and the numbers, Ray, but the dude is getting murdered. Like, there's no way he's making it to week 10 at this pace right now.
Am I a Stafford backer? Yes. Did I think his arm was going to be fine? Yes. Has his arm been fine? Absolutely. His arm's totally fine. The elbow issue that we were all concerned about is not a thing. However, everything else is a massive concern. As much as I have to support at Stafford, I have him in a couple leagues. I've supported him when people have asked questions. I'm no longer supporting Stafford. I can't. It has nothing to do with Matt Stafford. He's totally fine. The offense is broken, straight broken. And this offensive line somehow was only 31 out of 32 in pass blocking over at Pro Football Focus. I have no idea how the Titans are worse. They can't even set a pocket. And he's getting hit on every play. There were about 4 times yesterday where it looked like he got knocked out of the game, but he soldiered through it. This offensive line is horrible. The coaching staff and Sean McVay, you guys, you suck. Straight. I mean, you're the Super Bowl champion. This is what you're putting out there. Like, when you're going well, everyone loves you. And we've joked around, if you used a urinal next to Sean McVay once, you have a coaching job in the NFL. Where's Boy Wonder? There's nothing. This offense is horrible.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis. Weekdays at 5 Eastern.
Geno Smith is like a savior right now, which
It's a joke.
We would have been laughed at if we said, even in week 2, if we said it. And right now, he's playing great football. And
Ronan, how much of an idiot am I? I mean, all the shows we were on together, I would repeatedly say, I'm not touching Metcalf, I'm not touching Lockett.
Everyone said that. I mean,
Metcalf especially, because for a while he was going in that like mid-4th round. Lockett, at least, you could get him at a decent value, the 7th, 8th round towards the end of draft season. But I was still like, I don't trust Geno. I'm not going Metcalf. I'm not going Lockett. I said it 1,000 times, and Geno Smith's been turning heads.
I did draft Geno in a super flex best ball league. I think as my 3rd quarterback, but I didn't expect this. I just said, well, he's starting. I thought maybe he might lose the job at some point to Lock, but I'm like, he's starting, so I took him. But this is in for leagues with 6 points for a passing touchdown. Josh Allen is averaging 36.1 points per game. Lamar's at 31.8. Mahomes 28.8. Hurts 27. And then there's a drop off to Goff at 23.8, and that includes his crappy game this week. So Geno's at 8th, 23.5. I mean, it's been pretty bad.
Bettor Sports Network is betting, fantasy, collectibles. It's sports talk done better. On Call with Dr. Roto on Bettor Sports Network.
All right, we're back. Dr. Roto here. It's On Call with Dr. Roto, and it's Tuesday night. It's time for one of my favorite people in the world. His name is Jason Braddock. And by the way, JB, I heard you were on the field at Energy Stadium doing some sort of media combine. Tell us about it, and did you get injured?
I didn't. Well, I'm always injured, but I didn't get further injured. I'm pretty sore, I'll tell you that. But no, it's pretty awesome. The Texans bye week, so they invited local media here to come out and do the combine event. They had kick a field goal, accuracy contest, long pass, run a 40, catch. You got 3 punts to try to catch how many you could do. So, man, it was awesome. The owners were there, Cal and Hannah McNair were there. The PR staff were there and did an excellent job. Lovey Smith, special teams coach Frank Ross, and also OC Pep Hamilton was all involved in the drill and giving advice. Mostly they were just razzing us more than advice.
All right, so you don't have to. It's only on a national audience. What was the 40 time?
Oh man, yeah, I'm definitely not getting signed. So sub 6'5", 6'4", 640. Well, I mean, you're talking. I'm probably a little bit of an overshare, but yeah, I'm 43 with 2 knees, bone on bone, compressed disc in my back, and fibromyalgia. And my wife's like, "You're really going to go out there? They told you back in 03 not to do sports anymore." I'm like, I haven't listened since then. Why start now? But it's a once in a lifetime event. I mean, I say it's once in a lifetime. Actually, this was the inaugural. They're going to start doing it yearly. So very cool of them to see the other media out there, see the personality, a little bit more laid back and everything else. I had an amazing time. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to pay for it for the next week in soreness, but I would do it 1,000 times.
How far?
Oh my gosh, Doc! Soon as I got there, that right arm clicked when I threw the first one. Man, guys are tossing at 50. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna at least get 40. I had 34 yards, and I'm like, I don't think I can criticize quarterback play anymore. Like, especially if they're making a far hash. No, that's not good, Doc. I appreciate you trying to have my back. That's not good, Doc.
I don't. Could I throw? I could throw 34. But it would be a high loopy thing. It wouldn't be a rope.
Right. And so this is an NFL sized ball. I'm like wrapping my hand around and I'm chunking it. As soon as I throw that first one, I just feel the arm just click. I'm like, I don't think you're supposed to click, And so I still threw 2 more. I'm like, no, I'm here, man. I'll be on IR, Probably just short term though. Give me about 4 weeks, and I'll be back to what I consider 100% health.
I'm going to get an email from Jason. Hey, Doc, I'm on the IR. I need some time off the show. And then lastly, how many punt returns did you catch? Did you catch all 3?
I caught all 3. Yeah. I actually, the special team coach, Frank Ross, pretty cool. I made one of the field goals. I only kicked one of the 3 field goals in. But on the punts, I caught all 3. And on the first one, the special team coach, Frank Ross, pretty cool guy. He's right there. And I waited to the last second to put my hands up. And he's like, "Oh, nice catch. Late hands too." And I'm like, "You like that?" And I just signed the ball and hand him the ball. Just put my little signature on there. So no, it was an awesome event, man. It's a dream, something I wanted to do my entire life. Wish I did it younger in my prime, but man, you would have had to carry me off there. If I pulled a hamstring, I would have still ran the 40 and did everything else. And they set me up, by the way. They saved the 40 for last when you're already exhausted and hurting. My 6'4", 640, I definitely would have got a 6'4", 5.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So I don't know if I ever told you the story. I was in college. They have these intramurals and different events, and the field goal kicking contest. And my fraternity brother, my big brother, was a field goal kicker in high school. So I held for him. Yeah, I held for him. He was kicking 50 yarders. I didn't realize how far that is, Jason. That is a country mile to kick that.
Oh, it's insane. They've got this on I think the 10-yard line or something. So it's only like a 20-yard kick or something. I knocked the first one straight through and then shank one. And then I kick it right under the bar. I'm embarrassed. I kick one short that goes short of the bar. The shanking I expect, but short, I'm like, dude, we're on a 10-yard line. I don't feel like I can criticize anybody in sports anymore after the performance I put on.
All right. Speaking of shanking, Matt Amendola shanks a field goal when the Cardinals are coming back, take that game right into overtime. How did that Eagles-Cardinals game stay so close? Because you would think the Eagles should have won that game by, 14 before it started, and it didn't happen that way.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting question, So as far as how this plays out, the Cardinals with DeAndre Hopkins out, and lo and behold, you look up and we're 5 weeks in, so he's back sooner rather than later. So that's going to be a real blessing because now Marquise Brown kind of moves to that second wide receiver position, and then Rondell Moore, then Greg Dortch, and then AJ Green, and now you're talking about something they've been struggling at that wide receiver position, and you've got a wealth of riches there at that position. But until that point, the way to kind of stay close, because Philly's still the only remaining undefeated team, is that you kind of manufacture that offense. You're checking down to James Conner, let him create after the catch. You're throwing to Rondell Moore underneath. You're throwing to AJ Green. So you're having to do patchwork, but I'm really intrigued to see how it works out when Hopkins comes back into that offense. But they need a healthy running back too.
All right, I predicted your answer to this question. We'll find it. We'll find out now.
Is it about Jordan Averroes?
What is your thoughts on Kenneth Walker III, and how much of your fab budget would you be spending on him?
Oh, wow. Now, you're probably a better fab budget expert on me because especially when there's a guy running back I like. I remember when Herbert got hurt last year and I was in the league. I'm like, Doc, what's everybody else thinking? Because I already know where I'm at. And that's kind of where I'm at with Kenneth Walker. Really like Kenneth Walker. The offense is clicking. So the big thing that was holding them back was Rashad Penny. But we talked in the preseason. We said, well, what do we know about Rashad Penny? It's not if, but when he gets hurt. And I hate to say that about the guy, but if it's facts, it's facts. And so you knew Kenneth Walker was going to get that opportunity. But at that time, we thought 2 younger offensive linemen, Geno Smith at quarterback, this is never going to work. How many opportunities is he going to have? And so now you revisit that situation. You count your blessings if you did have them. If not, you are going to blow some fab budget on that. It's the same thing as Kenneth Gainwell. If you want to be proactive and you're like, I don't want to blow the fab budget right now. I'm still wanting a holding pattern good, but who's that next guy? Well, what's another offense that's clicking? You got an undefeated Philly team here where the offense is clicking, the defense is clicking. It's a really good team, so they're going to have a ton of opportunities run. What happens, again, knock on wood, but what happens if Miles Sanders goes down? So if you're wanting to say the fab budget, it makes sense to go out for Kenneth Walker, spend it, all aboard with that. But if you decide you want to be a little bit proactive or you're a little bit more tight with your money right now, go for Kenneth Gainwell, excuse me, and wait, because it's the NFL. Everybody's getting banged up.
I think Walker, though, reminds me of Elijah Mitchell in that
Oh, nice.
he's a guy who's going to get 20 touches. And that's hard to find. Hard to find a guy
Right.
mid-year who's going to get 20 touches. So I think you have to be in on Walker, especially I wish he was a 3-down back. He's really not. He doesn't do great in pass protection, doesn't have really great hands. But, I mean, you're looking at a guy who should be going 20 carries, 80 yards, and a touchdown every other week, Jason.
Well, you're seeing the production. What week are we just coming off of? 2 rookies, Dameon Pierce and Breece Hall, were 2 of the best backs in the league this week. So it's not like we're talking about a position like, well, what type of return do we get from these young guys year one, especially if they're just thrown out there? Well, you get a damn good return. Dameon Pierce is top five rusher in the NFL. And so, I mean, we're talking about the potential there. That's a 4th-round pick. Well, Kenneth Walker, a 2nd-round pick is basically a 1st-round pick at any other position. So you just get the right value there on the running back. So even Breece Hall going early 2nd round, that's truly a first, but they're so devalued at that running back position. So to go where Kenneth Walker goes lets you know what teams really thought about him. I wouldn't take that as a knock on him. So, yeah, so Kenneth Walker, complete value there. Buy in on him. And I say all that to say this. Buy in on him as he's a 1st-round draft pick, like he's a Travis Etienne that now is getting his time to shine. And I think you'll get that type of potential.
I can tell you for a fact, I spoke to Rich Samiti, who covers the Jets for ESPN. The Jets wanted to take Breece Hall in round 1. They were trying to trade up for him. So,
yeah.
Look, let's get to your guy, Etienne, the Clemson man. You know, I know you love your Clemson Tigers there. We were down on ETN. We were up on ETN, but then James Robinson looked good. Then James Robinson hasn't looked so good. Who is going to emerge there, or is this going to be just a running back by committee? Because James Robinson does not seem to be the same guy that he was about 3 weeks ago.
Well, James, I was telling people at that time it was a fugazi, talking about James Robinson, like the one drill I've done for years is that I look at a running back's performance on a game by game basis, and I take that top rush out of there so I can see consistently what they're doing. If you've got a 40-yard run, that's going to throw off your average. Now, if you've got 8 yards, 10 yards, 12 yards, that's showing you consistently just gashing guys. James Robinson has not done that 1 point this year. His best game, I want to say half of his rushing yards came on 1 play. And we kept saying with ETN, I'm like, Doc, like this guy, what did we see at Clemson? That if you give him the touches, it's not if, but when he busts you a 40-plus yard. And that 40-plus yarder can come in the running game or the receiving game. So it's never been a question to me. I understand why Jacksonville used the 1st-round pick. And I understand it got a little cloudy last year with Urban Meyer talking about slot wide receiver. Just because a guy can catch the backfield and he's not a 230-pound back doesn't mean he's not a running back. No, I mean, look at Alvin Kamara that can run those type of routes and catch. You get that, and you also get a guy that's a really good running back that can not only bounce, has speed to bounce to the outside, but he can run between the tackles because he has vision. And most importantly, especially with all the missed tackles we're seeing this year, his contact balance is silly. You have to take him down. Don't throw a shoulder into him. Take him to the ground.
My biggest knock on ETN this year has been untimely drops. He's had a lot of drops out of the backfield, which surprised me because I thought he had pretty good hands. Is he just trying to run before he catches it? What's going on? Or am I wrong? Maybe his hands aren't that good. What's going on, Jason?
No, he's got good hands. I mean, you can see what he did for years at Clemson, the production he has it there with Trevor Lawrence. So what do we know? Well, this guy's a rookie. And you're like, well, no, he was drafted in the 1st round last year. Yeah, how many games did he play in? I mean, the injury, he missed the entire year. He had a completely different coaching staff his first year, which he's not even around because he's injured. Now he comes back, and as a new coach, it's not talking silliness about making him a slot receiver. Now he's back at running back, and he's learning a new playbook for the 2nd straight year when he never got to learn and really play in the first playbook that was in. So it's a unique situation. Give him the ball. If you give him 15 to 20 carries, James Robinson still has a role. He's a talented number 2 back. But Travis Etienne is the talent, and you need to let him get in there, let him get comfortable, and the chemistry is going to come quick because he's got Trevor back there with him that he's so familiar with. So they've taken it slow with him. I guess they bought into the James Robinson early in the year, and I'm just like, pass on that. But I think they're finally catching up to speed because they sat down Robinson early on this and went to ETN and rode him the rest of the way. That should be the formula the rest of the season.
Jason, I know you're a big Zach Wilson fan. we're starting to see Zach Wilson play better. We're starting to see him pick it up a little bit. But what I'm not liking here, and maybe I'm overreacting, I think what teams need, especially quarterbacks, they need that tight end that they can trust, but they also need that go-to guy. Well, the Jets have Elijah Moore. The Jets have Garrett Wilson. But it seems like Zach Wilson is most comfortable throwing the ball to Braxton Berrios. How does Wilson start to develop chemistry with Garrett Wilson, who I think needs to be the wide receiver one there? It doesn't look like it's happening.
Yeah, and this is something that, we talked about before as well, that coming into that Zach Wilson week, I was actually on with Danger and Chris, and I told him, I said, the identity of the offense changes when you go from a vet and Flacco to a young guy in his second year in Zach Wilson. I'm like, you can't take Conklin as a known commodity off his production, even though he had a great first game with him there late in the game for Zach Wilson, or you couldn't take Garrett Wilson as evolving into the number one because that was with Flacco. Who did he have his chemistry with? He had his chemistry with Elijah Moore and Corey Davis last year. So like you said, there's a lot of guys in there and they all are immense talent. Yeah, I mean, all of them are immense talent, and so he can get them all the ball. I can't give Zach any excuse on that. I know he's still young, second year. We've seen these second-year guys really struggle, but he's got immense first-round premier talent around him. He's got a tight end that Flacco got production with, and now he's got Breece Hall really breaking into the flow. It's all on him going forward at this point. He's got to show it consistently.
Jason, the Giants are playing some pretty good football. And I think it's because of the coaching. Brian Dable is a fantastic coach. That's just facts. Their wide receivers could be the worst I've ever seen. Right. But they've got Wan'Dale Robinson and Kadarius Toney coming back hopefully sooner than later. You study all these guys. You know them from college. You study them at the draft. Are the Giants getting two guys that can make a significant impact the rest of the way? Or are these just guys who are going to be injured off and on their whole careers and they're just speed guys with issues?
Yeah, I don't think they're getting an instant impact guy with Wan'Dale Robinson, not consistently. He's a guy that you may get some flash actions. You may have a big game. He might come out his first week and have a big game and be the preferred target, depending on how things shake out. I wouldn't buy into it. I would need to see a couple weeks of consistent production. I think you'll see flash productions from maybe two, three the rest of the way, maybe 2-3 games the rest of the way, that he gives you some type of production of merit in DFS or whatever. As far as Kadarius Toney, if he's healthy, I'm buying. I love Kadarius Toney's skill set. Now, it sounds like there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and the one knock on my evaluation is I don't get to meet like 99% of these guys and interview them and get to know them and see, well, does he love football? Is he checked out? What's their mindset? So I don't get that side of it. So I'm hearing all the reports, and all I got to do is believe the reports that there's some kind of conflict behind the scenes or whatever from earlier. And then he's got to stay healthy as well. But if he's healthy and the way that offense is going, I'm buying Kadarius Toney.
All right. Jason Braddock from DrOto.com. Appreciate you as always. We'll catch you next Tuesday night.
And I know all you fans, most of the people in the nation, even the football people, are big Astros fans. So I'm sure they enjoyed that Yordan Alvarez. So from Houston, good night. Enjoy the show. There'll be plenty more throughout these playoffs. Goodbye from the bad guys. Bye.
All right, we're taking a little break. When we come back, look at back to the waiver wire. Who are some quarterbacks that you need? I'll let you know right after this.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
The only person, I've said this to you before, who I believe back then, of all those power hitters who truly was clean, Ken Griffey Jr.
I mean, I think so when he got hurt. We'll never know that for sure either.
Nah, dude.
We've seen guys who were not big take substances.
That's true.
To get busted. So it's not about that always.
I hear you. It's just, don't you think with the way his career kind of went, you would think that he didn't take anything?
I don't think he did, but we'll never know 100%.
I'm going to keep telling myself that he didn't. The one pure player, I mean, he's my favorite baseball player of all time. In the 1990s, Ron, as a kid, as a 5-year-old kid who plays video games and collected cards, There was no one cooler than Ken Griffey Jr. I still wear my hat backwards because Ken Griffey Jr. did it and he looked really cool doing that, wearing a backwards baseball cap. Like, he made everything the guy did looked cool. Even the home run in the movie Little Big League, it's acting, it's all, I guess, fake, but even he made that look cool. I mean, Ken Griffey Jr., you're a little bit older than me, but in the 90s, was there besides Michael Jordan, was there a more loved athlete than Ken Griffey Jr.?
Yeah, no, I love Griffey. He's one of my favorite players ever, from defensively to hitting his swing. And yeah, I would have loved to see what he could have done if he had stayed healthy, the final numbers he finished with. So no, I was a huge fan of Ken Griffey, and it's a shame though that all those injuries towards the end of his career just really limited the production he put up, but he still put up elite numbers. He was so fun to watch. So I'm a huge Ken Griffey guy.
And here's the other thing too. So 1994, the season got shortened because of the strike.
Yeah, he finished with 40 homers in 111 games that year, man. And then he had 56 2 years in a row, 97 and 98, and then 48. He had a stretch 4 years in a row, 49, 56, 56, 48, 40. I mean, unbelievable. And then, yeah, once he hit like 31, he started to miss games, 111, 70, 53, 83. So think about that, all those years that he lost, and he still hit 630 home runs, man. Yeah. So if he was clean, he would have been the all-time home run champion. Again, we're all guessing here, but you would think, all right, well, once he got into age 31, 32, that's when the body started breaking out, which is typical, right, for someone who's not using anything, whereas we saw Barry Bonds just get better with age. And we did not see that with Griffey. So look at 2001, where he's 31, he played on. Look at the home runs decline: 8, 13, 20, 35, 27, 30, 18, 15 to his age 38 season. Even age 39 in 170 games, he had 19 home runs. So he probably would have definitely been the all-time home run leader had he been able to stay healthy.
Bettor Sports Network. It's sports talk done better. On call with Dr. Roto on Bettor Sports Network.
All right, we're back. Let's get to some waiver wire here. The Bettor boss says it's time to sell Geno. I'm not going to disagree. I think one of the things that is critical to understand in fantasy football, you weren't in on Geno Smith. Most of us weren't, okay? There was actually a report, I can't even remember, it was earlier in the summer, where some of the Seahawks players wanted Geno Smith. They did not want Drew Lock. And there was one or two people out there in the Twitter sphere who were like, oh, well, this could be a good year for Geno. Nobody bought into that, right? So now you didn't believe Geno. But the last 2 weeks, you saw him against Detroit. You still didn't believe. But now you saw the Saints, and you became a Geno believer. So now you decide, I'm going to cut Russell Wilson. I'm going to spend on my fab. I'm going to do all these things, right? And then you get Geno. And your mind, you're trying to get week 4 and week 5 Geno. That time has passed. It's like the Colts trying to get Matt Ryan from 5 years ago. You're getting the decrepit Matt Ryan who needs to retire. You're not getting the young Matt Ryan who had a cannon when he came out of Boston College. So my question is, which Geno do you think you're getting? So I'm going to look here because I think this is important. And let's see. Seahawks. One moment, please. Please hold. Thank you for holding. They play the Cardinals this week. Okay. Then they get the Chargers. Then they get the Giants. Then they get the Cardinals again. Then they get the Buccaneers. So which Geno are we getting? Are we getting the Geno from weeks 1, 2, and 3 who was okay? Or are we getting week 4 and 5 Geno who was dynamic? I'll say this, and I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. Let me check this. Where is that? Yeah, okay. I think it's 16 for 28. Geno Smith, 16 for 25. What made Geno special is that he throws the ball deep downfield. He's taking the big shots. It's like Geno should have been a Raider. Remember Al Davis? Just win, baby, and throw the ball deep downfield. That's what they did here. But 25 attempts, 16 completions in 4 quarters, that's not a big number. That's not a big number. 25 attempts, that's a very paltry number. Other guys are throwing 40, 50 times. He's throwing 25. So he's connecting on those big plays. But what if he doesn't? I'm not telling you I don't like him. I'm not saying I don't like him. I'm just saying let's not overvalue him. Let's value him, but let's not overvalue him. All right, the Elite says Hill or Eno Benjamin? Which Hill? I have Connor and I have Pitts. What's the best move for my team? All right. Sometimes I'm not good with last names when they're especially like Hill or Wilson. Which Hill am I talking about here? Oh, is it Taysom Hill? Is it Taysom? Taysom Hill. There we go. I'm picking Eno Benjamin because if you have Connor, first of all, and you have Pitts. So let's talk about this. People are giving up Kyle Pitts. You can't. You have to be patient with Kyle Pitts. You have to hope that it gets better, first of all. Taysom Hill is not going to be better the rest of the way than Kyle Pitts unless Taysom Hill is starting every week at quarterback. Then he's better, 10 million times better. But if he's going to be used as a gadget guy 3 or 4 times a game, not better. Secondly, Eno Benjamin looks good. Eno Benjamin looks pretty good. I had my doubts about Eno, but he's removed my doubts. And a lot of smart guys, Nelson Sosa, Bill Wasowski, a lot of really good high-stakes players, they were in on Eno. And I have Eno on a few teams. And when all smart guys get together and they all start taking the same guy, you got to pay attention. And look, James Conner was terrific last year. He doesn't look that terrific this year. Eno looks a little more spry to me. So if I have Conner and I have Pitts, give me Eno Benjamin. I think that's a smart, safe play. And we're going to hope that Pitts does well. I like Taysom Hill, but I can't tell you I'm taking him over Kyle Pitts. All right. I like Zach Wilson. My fear about Zach Wilson is, like I said, Braxton Berrios and Corey Davis can't be your number 1 targets. It has to be Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson. I'm worried that he doesn't have a rapport with Garrett Wilson. That's problematic to me. I like Kenny Pickett, but once again, he's got another tough one. And do you know why? Once again, I've mentioned this a few times. I believe they wanted Trubisky to be there. They wanted Trubisky to go through Buffalo. They wanted him to go through Tampa. You put Pickett against the Bucs, that's a tough defense. Trial by fire. So it's tough. So Pickett is not going to have another good week this week. Could be a little ugly. Let's talk about Jameis Winston. I think Jameis Winston is very sneaky. Jameis Winston looked pretty good. Now he's had some issues, but Chris Olave is really special. Michael Thomas back soon. Got Marquez Callaway. Got this guy Taysom Hill. Got Alvin Kamara. They got a lot going on there. I think Jameis Winston's a sneaky guy who I might pick up, hoping that he'll be back soon. I think Daniel Jones has earned our attention. I think Daniel Jones sticks. Okay, let's understand that. But Brian Dable is having a run. This guy has become better than Justin Fields. He's getting 200 yards and 30 or 40 rushing yards a week. Now, I'm going to argue when Wandale and Kadarius Toney are there, it's going to be even better. Going to be even better. So I like them. I like Jones as a super flex type of play. We're in a bye week situation. Jimmy G. Jimmy G, you can literally etch down 225 to 230 yards and 1 touchdown a week, 1.5 touchdowns a week. Maybe you get the 1, maybe you get the 2. Look, he's consistent. You win. You get to the playoffs with consistency. You don't win with Jimmy G, but if the rest of your team is good, you can get to the playoffs with Jimmy G. So those are the extra close attention to. Let's see. Yeah, speaking of the Giants, if you're a Giant fan right now, you've got to be thrilled. You've got to really be thrilled because your coach has a clue, as opposed to some of the horrible ones you've had. Your general manager is pretty sharp. He helped build the Bills. I think he can help build the Giants. You're beating teams that you should be, like Carolina and the Bears, but you came back. You came back and you beat the Packers. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to compare the Giants to the Mets. How am I going to do that? I'll let you know when we return right after this.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
The only person, I've said this to you before, who I believe back then, of all those power hitters who truly was clean, Ken Griffey Jr.
I mean, I think so when he got hurt. We'll never know that for sure either.
Nah, dude.
We've seen guys who were not big take substances.
That's true.
To get busted. So it's not about that always.
I hear you. It's just, don't you think with the way his career kind of went, you would think that he didn't take anything?
I don't think he did, but we'll never know 100%.
I'm going to keep telling myself that he didn't. The one pure player, I mean, he's my favorite baseball player of all time. In the 1990s, Ron, as a kid, as a 5-year-old kid who plays video games and collected cards, there was no one cooler than Ken Griffey Jr. I still wear my hat backwards because Ken Griffey Jr. did it and he looked really cool doing that, wearing a backwards baseball cap. Like, he made everything the guy did looked cool. Even the home run in the movie Little Big League, it's acting, it's all, I guess, fake, but even he made that look cool. I mean, Ken Griffey Jr., you're a little bit older than me, but in the 90s, besides Michael Jordan, was there a more loved athlete than Ken Griffey Jr.?
Yeah, no, I love Griffey. He's one of my favorite players ever, from defensively to hitting his swing. And yeah, I would have loved to see what he could have done if he had stayed healthy, the final numbers he'd finished with. So no, I was a huge fan of Ken Griffey, and it's a shame, though, that all those injuries towards the end of his career just really limited the production he put up, but he still put up elite numbers. He was so fun to watch. So I'm a huge Ken Griffey guy.
And here's the other thing, too. So 1994, the season got shortened because of the strike.
And he finished with 40 homers in 111 games that year, man. And then he had 56 2 years in a row, 97 and 98, and then 48. He had a stretch 4 years in a row, 49, 56, 56, 48, 40. I mean, unbelievable. And then, yeah, once he hit like 31, he started to miss games, 111, 70, 53, 83. So think about that, all those years that he lost, and he still hit 630 home runs, man. Yeah. So if he was clean, he would have been the all-time home run champion. Again, we're all guessing here, but you would think, all right, well, once he got into age 31, 32, that's when the body started breaking out, which is typical, right, for someone who's not using anything, whereas we saw Barry Bonds just get better with age, and we did not see that with Griffey. So look at 2001, where he's 31, he played on, look at the home runs decline, 8, 13, 20, 35, 20. 30, 18, 15 to his age 38 season. Even age 39 in 170 games, he had 19 home runs. So he probably would have definitely been the all-time home run leader had he been able to stay healthy.
Better Sports Network. It's sports talk done better. The doctor is in. Get your prescription to win fantasy sports and betting on Better Sports Network.
All right, we're back. Welcome to hour number 2 of On Call with Dr. Roto, right here on the Better Sports Network. We do everything better here. We get to talk to you, chat with you. You chat in our inbox. Come on, have a chat with me, discuss your teams. We had Jason Braddock in hour number 1. We have got Armando Marçal from Fantasy Guru in hour number 2. Looking forward to that. And I teased, what's the Giants and the Mets, what do they have in common besides that they're both New York teams? And this is a stretch, but hey, work with me. I think we're disappointed in the New York Mets. Mets had a great year, but they didn't make the World Series. They didn't win the World Series. Didn't even beat the Padres. So it becomes a disappointing year. But is it? Is it a disappointing year? Or are the Mets better now than they've been in years. Do you feel for the first time that the Mets are heading this way versus in the toilet? If the Giants don't win another game this year, A, I'll be shocked. But B, I'll still think that they're better than they were with Joe Judge. Much better. Because I think Brian Dable's got a lot out of this team already. And I'm seeing what this team could be. See, that's the problem with owners and general managers. I see Nathaniel Hackett and I see a guy who can't get it done. I see Matt Rule and see a guy who never should have been hired. Disaster right away. Sometimes a good coordinator in the NFL is better. I don't even say sometimes. Most of the time, a good coordinator in the NFL is better than a college coach. Because the NFL coordinators, they know the system. They've been there. They've played. They've been around it. For the life of me, I don't know why Eric Bieniemy hasn't gotten a job yet. Deuce Staley's going to get a job. Somebody's going to hire that dude. When you've been around the game, you understand it. These college guys come, they don't know it. But, Spy says here, the Mets have an owner who will spend money and there's a chance to win the World Series. Agreed. The Giants are closer to winning a Super Bowl today than they've been in 3 years because they have the right leadership. So even if the Giants, win 5 games, 5 more than I was hoping for, I was really expecting the number 1 pick, and at least it tells me that they're heading up. The arrow is pointing up. I don't want the arrow pointing down. I want the arrow pointing up. Doesn't every team want that? Doesn't every team want the arrow pointing up? Ask yourself this question. Is the arrow pointing up for a lot of our teams? Yeah. Is the arrow pointing up for the Commanders? No. It's this way. For the Bears, is the arrow pointing up? No. I like the coach, but the quarterback is awful. But I like the team, and I like they're staying in games. So maybe the arrow is pointing just a teeny bit up. It would go way up if they got rid of Justin Fields. For the Ravens, is it pointing up? Maybe. Better sign Lamar Jackson. Without it, it's pointing way down. We're going to way down. Giants is pointing up. How about the 49ers? I think it's pointing up. I know they don't have Trey Lance, but it's pointing up there. Is it pointing up for the Falcons? Couldn't point any further down, to be honest with you. Patriots, is it pointing up? No. No. By the way, I love Ramondre Stevenson. I've told you this for over a year now. So in on this guy. For the Browns, it might be pointing up soon. It might be up soon when Deshaun Watson's there. It's not pointing up now. Is it pointing up for the Jets? It is way up. Giants and Jets pointing way up. Is it pointing up for the Falcons? I'm sorry, for the Packers? No. No. You lose to the Giants after being ahead like that? Oh, man, that arrow's pointing. Is it pointing up for the Jaguars? It is. I know the Jaguars have lost a couple of games, but it's pointing up. Devin Lloyd looks really good. Walker looks really good. ETN will get better. They just need to find some consistency. Is it pointing up for the Colts? No, it's pointing way down. Way down. The Colts have had some brutal games this year. Is it pointing up for the Vikings? I would argue yes. You have Justin Jefferson, and you've got a new coach. So yes. Is it pointing up for the Dolphins? Way up for the Dolphins. Way up for the Dolphins. Is it pointing up for the Bengals? Yes. Went to the Super Bowl last year. Joe Burrow's there. You better believe it. Is it pointing up for the Saints? Maybe. Yeah. Olave's special. There's still issues. They still have quarterback issues, but the defense good. So it's pointing. Is it pointing up for the Buccaneers? No. Because when is Brady done? So it almost feels like it's flatlined. It's this year, it's nothing. Is it pointing up for the Steelers? I would argue yes. Because they got Kenny Pickett and they got Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool and Najee Harris and Pratt Freiermuth. So yes, it's up. Is it up for the Panthers? Oh God, no. Is it up for the Rams? No. It was. There was that energy with Matthew Stafford there. Now, is it up for the Cardinals? No. Is it up for the Seahawks? Shockingly, yes. I got to give Pete Carroll credit. This dude knew to get rid of Russell Wilson. Who knew that? I didn't know that. Is it up for the Bills? Way up. Is it up for the Chiefs? It always is, as long as Mahomes is there. Is it up for the Cowboys? Yes. Cooper Rush getting it done. No Dak Prescott, no problems. Is it up for the Eagles? It couldn't be up anymore. It couldn't be up any higher. So Spy07 asks, Goff is on bye this week. Who would you pick up? Mariota gets the 49ers. No. Fields gets the Commanders. No. Brissett gets the Patriots. No. Mills is on bye. Rush is against the Eagles. Not really. So I guess it comes down to Pickett and Winston. I like Winston. I think Wilson would be a great start this week if he plays. But if we don't know, we got to wait. So what I might do is on Wednesday get Pickett and then wait and see who I can get on Saturday, or wait till Saturday. That's probably what I would do, Spy. I would wait and do the second round of waivers and see who's there, unless you want to get Winston and then get desperate on Saturday. That's what I would do. All right, so we talked about running backs. Kenneth Walker we're in on. We talked about Eno Benjamin we're in. We talked about Mike Boone. Tevin Coleman, I'm not in on. No, not in on it. DJ Dallas, interesting. Certainly a guy who can catch. Certainly a guy after losing will be in a game. Pierre Strong is an interesting name. Ty Montgomery, I've never thought much of. Damian Harris is out for a few weeks. Ramondre Stevenson needs somebody else. Pierre Strong is a 4th-round pick. The dude is very fast. Played, I believe, at South Dakota State. Got some ability there. People wondered, why they draft Pierre Strong? We had Harris. We had Stevenson. We had James White. But I know the Patriots knew that James White wasn't coming back, because otherwise you wouldn't have taken this game. So Strong he has my attention. Replay Reel. My man, Replay Reel, where you have Chase Edmonds in a half-point PPR. Mostert seems to be the guy. So listen. If I asked you who the backup was for the Kansas City Chiefs last week, you would have said, who? Pacheco. Now, if I asked you who the backup is for the Chiefs, who would you say? McKinnon. After last week, if I said who's a starting running back for the Dolphins, you would say Mostert. But 2 weeks ago, if I asked you who it was, you would say Edmonds. Certain players play against certain teams. It's these combos, right? So I'm not cutting Chase Edmonds. I don't love him. I'm not looking to play him, but I'm not cutting him. Let's not kid ourselves. Raheem Mostert went to the Rashad Penny School of Injuries. That dude gets injured a ton. The day you cut Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert twists his ankle, and then you wish you had Chase Edmonds, and you can't get him back. And I don't want that. All right? I don't want it. But you know what I do want? I do want to take a break. And when I come back, I will break down waiver, wire, wide receivers. Got some guys, got some upside guys. Got one guy I really like. What's his name? Doc, who is he? I'll let you know when we return right after this.
On call with Dr. Roto. Make bets and follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Better Sports Network.
I got to tell this story, okay? So we're out in Canton, Ohio, and we decide to go eat late at night, like after midnight. We decide to go to the Waffle House. Somehow, Fensty's never been there, even though he lives near it. I'm in New York, New Jersey. There's no Waffle House close. So if you go to the Waffle House, what are you going to eat more than likely? Pancakes, waffles, eggs, and all that, right? So, of course, our guy Rich, he gets breakfast. I get breakfast. Fensty doesn't. He's never been to a Waffle House. How do you not have waffles? Like, it makes no sense.
Dude, there's a time for
Eat
waffles.
breakfast at midnight. Come on, man.
That's the thing. I didn't want breakfast, man. I got what was it, like a cheesesteak sandwich or something like that?
That's like someone who has never been to IHOP going there and ordering a burger. Who does that?
That I wouldn't do. That I would not.
That's
well, first
the
of all,
equivalent of what you did. Well, I don't even know what you had.
I got this steak sandwich, which was
Steak sandwich at the Waffle House. Never been there, and that's what you get. You're an odd guy, man. You're an
I'm not an odd guy.
Yes, you are. Can we get a vote? Can we get a vote in the chat, please? I mean, if you've never been to Waffle House and you get a steak wrap, something's wrong with you, right? Don't you have to get waffles and eggs and bacon and all that? It's the Waffle House.
Yeah, I hear you, man. It was my first time, okay? Ordering the hash browns was already complicated enough. Smothered and covered, and it's almost like it's crazy how much combinations you can have. And I know that everybody's killing me for it right now. And no, to our producers, I don't get pasta at a steakhouse or anything like that. No,
Alfredo, that's what he gets at the
Bro,
steakhouse.
do you follow me on Instagram? I'm always on that grill. You know how much I love steak. Why would I go to a steakhouse and get pasta?
Because you go to Waffle House to get steak wraps. That's why.
I didn't know it was all waffles, bro. I thought it had like a little bit of everything. That's why. You know, I didn't realize they were famous for the waffles. Hey, look. You know,
the name of the place is the Waffle House. What else would they be famous for?
You know what? That's fine. I guess it's a hot take getting a steak sandwich. As long as it was good, I housed that thing in 10 seconds.
Okay, you were never there, and that's the first time. You're not going to try a waffle? Do you admit it was a mistake?
I don't really like waffles.
Call, chat, enter contests in real time. It's Sports Talk 3.0 with Better Sports Network. On Call with Dr. Roto on Better Sports Network.
It's so funny. I listened to that clip with Fensty and Ronas, and I always think of my daughter because my daughter has this knack of doing the same thing as Fensty. She'll go to a restaurant. She'll go to like, a seafood joint, and she'll order the lamb. Like nobody orders a lamb at a seafood restaurant. You don't go to the Waffle House and get a steak wrap. You go to the Waffle House and get a waffle. House of pancakes, and I get pancakes. Huh? Come on. It's easy. All right, we'll get to wide receivers in a second. Replay said, what do I see with Mike Boone? Is he flex worthy? Yeah. I mean, I don't think he's special. I think he's okay. I think Denver actually liked him more than I do. I watched him back in Minnesota where he was the third guy. He goes to Denver as the third guy, but they were incorporating him. But look, I don't trust Denver's talent evaluation. Nathaniel Hackett knows how to screw things up. So he got 10.9 points last week? Who do the Broncos have this week? Please hold. The Broncos have the Chargers this week. Yeah, I give him 12 points. Is that special? This is the Melvin Gordon revenge narrative game. Right? Got to assume that he's going to find the end zone. All right, let's get to some wide receivers. Now, when I do my waiver wire stuff here, I'm telling you this, I think like a high-stakes player. So look, in your league, if George Pickens is available, pick him up. Pick him up. Please pick him up. But I'm going to give you the guy that you're going to want, and this is the week to get him. Jamison Williams. This is the week for Jamison Williams. He's not playing this week. Most people don't like rostering a dead spot, and he's completely dead this week. So he may not even play week 7. How about that? He may not even play week 8. but I do expect him to play this year. And I think we're getting to the point where it's a game of chicken. Every week you don't take him, give somebody else in your league a chance to get him. So I think I'm on him. I am all in on Alec Pierce. I have been from the beginning. A big fan of him. Love his size, love his ability, love his red zone presence. Matt Ryan has been throwing to him liberally recently. He is absolutely the wide receiver 2. He won my man Jaguar Lou $1 million last week, playing so well. I think Alec Pierce, if he's available, you got to be in. I like Wan'Dale Robinson. So I think Wan'Dale may be closer than Kadarius Toney because I think Toney's in problem. I think Wan'Dale, why do I like him? One, Joe Shane brought him in. He drafted him. He went out when there were other guys on the board. Shane went and brought in Wan'Dale. He did. Because he's like an Isaiah McKenzie type. And Dabo will know how to use him. Dabo will know how to use him properly. And that's what I'm trusting in. I think Wan'Dale's probably out there maybe in some leagues. It's one of those guys you just put on your stash. Richie James, come on. David Sills, come on. Slayton, Slayton's all right. But Galladay, Giants receiver, terrible. Are you telling me there's no room for Wan'Dale Robinson when he's healthy? Plenty of room for Wan'Dale Robinson when he's healthy. Plenty. I gave you guys Khalil Shakir. I've been talking about this guy for a while. Played at Boise State. Very good college player. Can absolutely, there's no Jamison Crowder. Kumro's out. He's the number 4 guy there, assuming McKenzie's back. Now, if I rostered Diggs, Davis, or McKenzie, for sure, I want Shakir. Why? It's called injuries. It's called handcuffs. If Diggs should get injured, Shakir's playing. If Davis should get injured, Shakir's playing. If McKenzie should get injured, Shakir's playing. It's one of the reasons why when I drafted Michael Pittman in all my high-stakes leagues, my 20th round pick was Ashton Dulin. Because I said to myself, if Michael Pittman is out, Dulin is in. Duly noted. Now, I would not do this with just rando guys. I do it with young guys with upside who I like. Would I go have Zacchaeus on my team if I have Drake London? No. No. But if I like Shakir, then it's worth it. If I like Dulin, then it's worth it. So you think about the guy, you think about the player, you think about the backup, you think about if the backup gets on the field, do I like the player? Yes. I'll give you a guy I actually really like. I like Braxton Berrios a ton. And I would bid $1 on him only in the deep league. Because when he gets out there, Zach Wilson likes him. Now, is he going to play with Elijah Wilson there? Or is Elijah Moore there? No. See that? Elijah Wilson, combine them. Garrett Wilson, no. Corey Davis, no. Any one of those guys go down, he's worth $20 in fab. He is. Is he a great pickup? No, he's not a great pickup at all. But it's a great pickup if something happens. You know, Replay Real was in Discord at drordo.com on Sunday morning. And he asked a very smart question. He said, Doc, who are the guys that we might want to pick up just in case? And I know one of the names I gave him was Eno Benjamin. Sure enough, James Conner gets injured. And all of a sudden, Eno Benjamin, instead of going out and paying for Eno Benjamin during free fab, Replay Real probably got him for nothing. Boyd is another good wide receiver 3, just like that. Tyler Boyd fits that perfectly too. Would I pick up Pierce over Mike Boone in a half-point PPR? I think I would. Because we don't even know what Lat Murray is going to do. Lat Murray might be more involved than we think. And that always scares me because I don't think much of Lat Murray. All right. I do like Slayton a little bit. But I think the problem is Daniel Jones is not going to go to Slayton a ton. Slayton's a guy that usually is better off going out for deeper patterns, and the Giants just don't throw the ball that way. Marquez Callaway is interesting to me if Chris Olave is out. Randall Cobb is interesting to me only because Aaron Rodgers likes him. And Odell Beckham Jr. You feel it in the air. You feel it in the air. This is the time of the year that people are like, is Beckham going to sign? Where's Beckham going to go? I don't think we see Beckham for 4 more weeks. But once again, it's a game of chicken. Every week you don't take Beckham. All of a sudden on Twitter, oh, Beckham. And now we're hearing so much Beckham that even the guy in your league who hasn't won in 42 years knows to pick up Beckham. Once that guy knows what to do, it's too late. I always say this. Years ago, you could be 1 week early on a guy. Now, you got to be at least 2 weeks early on a guy. 1 week's not enough. Too many sharp guys out there. Too many experts out there giving their expert advice. It makes 1 week not enough. 2 weeks feels like it's more likely enough. 3 weeks feels too soon. Right? It's a little too soon. So I want the banana, not when it's green and not when it's black. I want it when it's ripe. I want that yellow banana. You get that yellow banana, you're going to prove to be victorious. So let me give you some tight ends before we take a break. We mentioned Taysom Hill earlier. Greg Dulcich. Albert O has not been what we thought, but Dulcich is interesting. If you are desperate for a tight end, he's probably 2 weeks out. He's from UCLA. He's got good hands. He's a good receiver. I like him. I'm interested. Cole Kmet. There was a Cole Kmet sighting this week. I had him as a prize pick this week. Let me tell you something about prize picks. I mentioned this before. I had Cole Kmet on Wednesday at 21 yards. By Saturday, he went up to 27 yards. That's why sometimes the early week prop bet is smart, because the line changes. And then finally, Cade Otton. Let's talk about Cade Otton. Cade Otton is about 6'5", 250 pounds. He is a big boy. He played at the University of Washington, and he played well there. He is somebody that the Buccaneers like and they want to build around. Just know the Buccaneers, Rachaad White is their running back of the future. Cade Otton is their tight end of the future. That future looks bright. I don't know if it looks bright with Kyle Trask, but it looks bright enough. So I do like Otton. Remember with Otton, though, that Cameron Brate will be back. And if Cameron Brate is back, he is the number one guy there. So I like Otton, but let's not overrate Otton. All right, going to take a timeout. When we come back, Armando Marçal, the mind of Marçal from fantasyguru.com joins us. Can't wait to talk to him. And you know when we're going to do it? Right after this.
On call with Dr.
Better Sports Network. Make bets and follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. On Better Sports Network.
We got to get a team in Honolulu. Like, what about that, Ray? You think Oakland? Like, nobody's talking about Honolulu for the Oakland A's to move to. How badass would that be to have a Major League Baseball team? Instead, they want to go to like where it's 120 degrees in the desert of Vegas.
Right.
Ray, they should pick up and go to Honolulu. That would be epic right there for the A's.
They could go to Honolulu, and instead of playing 12 games against a team throughout the course of the year, you just play a 12-game set. Just get it done.
What's the flight from the Bay Area? 4 hours?
It's depending which direction you're going, it's 5.5.
Okay, that's not terrible. You'd have to manage the schedule a bit.
Right.
But it's doable. Like, you play your West Coast games, and then maybe you give an extra day. Like you play in San Francisco through Sunday. And then you have your Monday off. Everybody gets their Monday off, and then they play out in Hawaii for 4 games, and they come back for a week.
It's very similar time-wise for us in California, in the Bay Area, to go to Hawaii as it is to go to New York. It's very similar. So yeah, like you're saying, Giants do that to go to the Mets. The A's do that to go to the Yankees. They do it, so it would be very similar.
They would be they've already got the baseball background. I mean, they're dominant. The island loves their baseball. And Ray, you could even rebrand the team from the Oakland A's to the Oakland Lays. You can do the Lays, Ray. Look at that.
Good. That's actually, there's no way that would ever happen, but that's pretty good, Kyle. On the fly.
I'm giving away like free marketing right here.
Good work.
Right on the show.
The plan is for them to stay here, but the fans hate them. I don't know if the city likes them. They can't. I mean, it's embarrassing. I don't know. The plan
There's
is
a lot of land in Hawaii. Just think about the views, Ray, of the Pacific. It would put your crap ballpark in San Francisco to shame. Like, everybody thinks that's a good view.
Right.
They'd have like waterfalls and real palm trees and the Pacific Ocean.
People
like
trolling fire in the 7th
They
inning
would make
stretch.
the Giants Park look like, the vet in Philly. It would look that awful if they moved to Hawaii.
And then you go to your flip-flops or shorts. They serve Mai Tais. They give Lays away. The first 5,000 fans, whatever.
Well, everybody in the chat room loves it. Every time I get a compliment, I don't bring it up on the show.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I don't want to be that guy.
Call, chat, enter contests in real time. It's Sports Talk 3.0 with Bettor Sports Network.
On call with Dr. Roto on Bettor Sports Network.
All right, we're back. Welcome back to On Call with Dr. Roto. Very excited for my next guest, one of the nicest guys in the industry. Works for fantasyguru.com. His name is Armando Marçal. He's the mind of Marçal. It's a very smart fantasy mind. How you doing, my friend? How you been?
I am doing really good. I'm doing well here. Excited to be on and talking some football with you today, Doctor. It's always a pleasure talking football with you, man.
I appreciate it. All right, let's get to some players. Let's talk about Geno Smith. Are we shocked at Geno Smith when the names DK Metcalf and Lockett came up during drafts? People are like, oh no, Geno Smith's throwing the ball. But they've been pretty darn good, both in seasonal and in DFS, Armando.
Yeah, they have been, and their prices have been reasonable in DFS as well. So that's what's interesting. It really hasn't, because of that, bias with Geno Smith. I was one that I thought the production was going to be volatile. If we're being honest, I did think it was going to be volatile, but he's playing very well. Both of these receivers are benefiting from that. This offense in general, it's just looking good, in some weeks as well. So I'm pretty excited here for Ken Walker and see what he's going to bring to the table here. But I'm as surprised as you are when it comes to Geno Smith. But I'm very happy to see it because, he's worked very hard to get where he is right now.
So you mentioned Penny. It was a terrible injury. So let's say you're in a high stakes league or a league that uses Fab and Kenneth Walker is miraculously out there. How much out of your $1,000 are you spending on Walker?
I think I think this really is dependent on your entire roster and what your team needs are. But I would go to say that I wouldn't have any issues with someone spending 100% of their fab on someone like Ken Walker, because I do think that this is a game changer now. He's going to be the feature back in this offense. The high draft pedigree, a very talented young man. And if he can stay healthy, I think he can turn in RB1, RB2 numbers the rest of the way here. So depending on your team needs, but again, I think you're going to have to spend upwards of 70% in most leagues.
Right, I agree with that. If you don't spend at least $700, you're not going to get him. So we have a couple of questions here. So I'll ask you. Fanatic says, do we drop Chase Edmonds for Eno Benjamin if he already has Connor? Now, you're down in Miami. What's going on with Chase Edmonds? What's going on with Mostert? What would you do there?
So I actually have been keeping track of these snaps, and it's not looking good for Edmonds. They're really trusting Mostert. I was expecting Mostert to eventually establish himself here at the beginning. I think, he was coming off that injury and kind of taking it easy with him. He knows this offense really well. So long as he's healthy, he's been efficient in this offense. And so long as he stays healthy, I think they're going to continue to lean on him. They need to establish the run in Miami, especially right now with all the injuries at the quarterback position. So I'm totally fine in this instance to drop Chase Edmonds and pick up Benjamin, especially if you have Connor on your roster, because you're handcuffing Connor. We know we know Darrell Williams also suffered an injury last week, which is concerning as well. So Benjamin might actually get the start this week if Connor and Williams are both out. So you have yourself a potential flex or even RB2 depending on your league here.
I just wonder, Armando, if I asked you, and I said this last segment, who the backup is for the Chiefs. If I asked you this last week, you would have said Isaiah Pacheco. But if I asked you today, you would say, well, McKinnon. Wasn't Chase Edmonds the flavor of the week, weeks 1, 2, and 3, and all of a sudden now it's Mostert? Can Mike McDaniel go back to Edmonds, or do you not see that happening?
I think he could, but I think Mostert fits this offense so much better. He ran this offense in San Francisco, and when he was healthy, he really did a good job. The problem is his biggest issue is staying healthy, and that would be the biggest reason to keep Edmonds, because durability with Mostert has been an issue, and it can become an issue once again. Right now he's healthy, but 2 weeks down the road he might not be. But if you need running back production this specific week, I definitely think Benjamin makes a lot of sense. And you're also handcuffing Connor in an offense that once Hopkins gets back, I think it's going to be a little bit better than what we've seen so far this season.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, Greg from Mississippi says, do I drop Goff because he's on a bye to get Geno, or do I gamble on Dak starting? I don't think Dak's going to play, Armando. What do you think?
I would be stunned if Dak plays, because this team is winning football games, so they don't need to rush him back. I would get Geno. I think I want to get Geno here and just the security blanket there and have a quarterback, because if you don't get Geno off waivers, I think you're going to miss on the opportunity, and you might have to resort to maybe a worse quarterback, one with a lower floor, maybe a more high variance quarterback. Because I don't think I'd be very stunned, if we're being honest, that if Dak plays this week.
I would too. I think you're right about that. I think Cooper Rush has done so well, maybe even earned himself a starting gig somewhere, that, why would you bring Dak back, especially against the Eagles? I mean, the Eagles defense might murder Dak.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the big concern. Like, you're getting a ferocious pass rush there, a quarterback injured, messed up hand. I don't see it happening. I would say there's a 99% chance he does it. I like to do those kind of things, but that's how surprised I'd be if he did play.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. All right, Greg has another question. He says, what do I do about George Kittle? Do I trade him? So my comment, Armando, about Kittle is he's such a good blocker that they use him to block, especially when Williams has been out. They've got Debo, they got Ayuk, they got Jennings. Has Kittle become more of a blocker than a receiver?
They're using him a lot in that manner, and that is concerning because of that. That's taken an impact, on his target share. We're seeing, Ayuk more involved than he was last year, which is also a big thing. And they're running the ball efficiently. This is a run-first team. We can't forget that this is a run-first team. The issue with Kittle right now is if you trade him away, you're probably not going to get good value in return. You're going to have to sell him for pennies on the dollar. You can't drop a player like Kittle. That's just, I've seen some people drop Kyle Pitts, and I just don't, those kind of players you cannot drop. You kind of have to stick it out with them here. But if you, to answer your question, if you can get a good return here on Kittle, somewhat of a fair value where you feel comfortable with, and it does upgrade your roster, in some capacity, I'd be okay with trading him. Because I do think his production is going to be very inconsistent on a week-to-week basis.
You mentioned Kyle Pitts. You probably drafted him in the 3rd round, maybe the 4th if you were lucky. You probably left your draft going, I got this guy. He's going to be the #1 talent next year. Man, he stinks. And I don't think he stinks. I think the offense stinks. Mariota's not a great passer. Maybe they're better off with Ritter. But right now, if you have Kyle Pitts, I mean, you can't cut him, but you don't even feel like you can play him. What do you do with this guy?
Yeah, it's kind of in the similar situation as Kittle, where if you have him on your roster, you're going to have to kind of tough it out with him. If you can find a trade candidate, where you feel comfortable making a trade, and you're comfortable with what you're getting in return, I wouldn't be opposed to that. But problem is that I agree with you. I think Ritter. Mariota's doing a good job in winning games from a fantasy perspective. I think Ritter would make more sense here. And I think that would help London, and I think that would help Pitts. I don't know if and when Atlanta is going to make that move. But right now, I mean, unfortunately, you just have to kind of tough it out with Pitts, because the problem is that you're gonna pick up someone from waivers who's very touchdown dependent. Someone like a Taysom Hill. I know he's been off to a great start. I know he's scoring a ton of touchdowns. I know the usage has been pretty decent, especially with some of the injuries there. But I still don't feel comfortable starting Hill over Pitts, because I know what kind of player Pitts is, and he's really an elite player. And right now he's just limited because of his supporting, cast and the coach and stuff. I think that's going to change. I think he's going to get better as the season progresses.
We are talking to Armando Marçal from fantasyguru.com. Writes The Mind of Marçal, one of the top fantasy articles out there. Let me ask you this, Armando. Let's say you have Daniel Carlson and you play in a league with kickers who, I mean, we all hate those leagues, but let's say you're in one of those leagues and you have Carlson, but you don't want to cut him, because you watched him on Monday night and this dude's got a leg where he could kick from 60, and the Raiders are a field goal team. Do you ever mind just giving yourself a 0 at a position because you don't want 2 kickers on a roster and you're willing to just suck it up for a week?
I do not, because I think every win is important. If you're 5-0 and the rest of your league, they have a lot of 3 and 2 teams and 4, or 2 and 3 teams, whatever the case may be, maybe, especially if you're a high scoring team. But I never like to leave a 0 on my roster. I think every win matters, because then you come down, the end of the season, that one win could be the reason why you either make or don't make the playoffs. And I try to make sure I get points from everyone I have in my starting lineup every week if I can.
All right, you mentioned Taysom Hill before. If he's out there in the league, I mean, we know if he qualifies at tight end, we're going to pick him up. But what if he qualifies at quarterback in the league, Armando? Are you spending on him? Are you picking him up on waivers, or is it just too risky?
If he's only quarterback eligible, I will not be picking him up. It's just way too risky, and I think once this team gets healthier, you're going to see some of that usage kind of go down a little bit. So where he's available at 10 end, obviously it makes a lot of sense. But where he's only QB eligible, that's like right now we would have to say, who would you rather start this week, Geno Smith or Taysom Hill? I would much rather start Geno Smith, because I know he's going to have more opportunities to post fantasy points. Whereas, Hill, we're hoping for those touchdowns that he's been scoring so far this season.
All right. Replay Reel says, do we pick up Geno Smith versus Arizona or stick with Russell Wilson versus the Chargers? What do you do there?
Oh, that's a tough one. So in these instances, I probably just with Russell Wilson, because that way I don't have to be rostering 2 quarterbacks. Depending on what your bench consists of, who you're dropping to pick up Geno Smith. Like, I think there's a lot when it's these specific situations. I think there's a lot more that takes that we have to take into account before deciding. But if you're dropping running back depth or a very good receiving depth, I much prefer just sticking it out with Wilson here, holding that depth, because as we've seen so far this season, there's a lot of injuries, and the more depth at those running backs and wide receiver positions you have, the better it is, and the least amount of variance, and and the least amount of players you're going to have to kind of go and scoop up and just randomly play when you have that depth.
Let's look at Denver's backfield. They lose Javonte Williams, which I know a lot of us really liked. Now you've got Melvin Gordon, you got Mike Boone, you even have Lat Murray. What are you doing with this backfield, Armando?
You got to go with Melvin Gordon right now, right? However, there is some hesitancy as to going all in on someone like him, because there's been the fumbling issues. The night that Javonte got hurt, Melvin Gordon was on the sidelines. He was in the doghouse that night because he had fumbled. The team even gave him a honor of not 1 or 2 more opportunities in that game. So once Williams went down, it kind of went to Boone. We saw Gordon, getting the more opportunities last week. We still saw Boone involved. But I think you're going to see all of these backs involved in some capacity. There's going to be weeks where Gordon really dominates. There's going to be other weeks where it's a little bit more evenly distributed between these running backs. It's really a situation I don't want to be invested in if I don't have to. I've actually suggested to some of our subscribers, if you can sell Gordon at a good price right now, I think now is the time to do it. So that is how I view this backfield. I really don't want to be invested in it. If I have to, I have to.
Philly Max says, I have Damian Pierce on bye, but I lost Damian Harris. And now he gives us a list of Brian Robinson or Rachaad White. Do you trust a guy? Let's just say, it's bye weeks coming up. Rachaad White could get 6-7 touches. Brian Robinson could get 8 or 9 touches. Are you willing to go with those guys, or would you rather drop a player to get a Mike Boone? Like, what do you do on waivers when you've got you have backups on teams and you're waiting for them to emerge, but they haven't emerged yet?
Yeah, I would probably take the points here. Given the running backs that this roster consists of, I would take the points. I would add a Mike Boone, because I do think Mike Boone is probably the safest bet when you're talking about a path to 10 to 12 opportunities. And I think that he has the clearest path to that. So I would say Boone, but if Boone is not out there, I prefer rolling out White. He's really been trending in the right direction. They've been using him more in the pass game. And for me, that speaks a lot about where the team stands with him, especially Tom Brady. He's a veteran quarterback. He's very picky about who's out there because of pass protection. This is an offensive line that, kind of has struggled this year. So if White is pass protecting well, like we kind of seen him do, and, being someone that Tom Brady can dump it off to, it's a good sign of things to come for him. I think he's one of the best ads and stash running backs right now, because I do think that, and I wrote this on my waiver wire article, he could be a league winner, I think, especially if Fournette goes down. I think eventually he's going to have standalone value, but if Fournette goes down, you got yourself a potential league winner here, Rachaad White. So if Boone is not out there, just roll out someone like White, because I do think you're going to get anywhere between 6 and 10 opportunities, and he has the potential to make something happen with those opportunities.
No, Armando, or Rachaad White's not out there in any league I'm in. You know why?
No,
because I have him in all my leagues.
Yeah, he's not out there in a lot of competitive leagues. I've been trying to buy him before the big game, and it's tough. It's tough out there. The market's tough.
All right, I got one more for you here.
Yeah.
Darnell Mooney, the man we all loved, 5th round pick. I know Jeff Mans didn't like him. He was right about that one. I like Mooney. I shouldn't have. It's not that I don't like Mooney. It's Justin Fields who sucks. The question is, guys like Mooney, guys like A.J. Dillon, guys who we thought were going to be those 5th and 6th round gems are starting to provide a little stench. What do we do with them, Armando?
Well, I think this is actually a perfect week for this question, because I do think that, given some of the bye weeks that we have here, he's someone that you can maybe plug and play against a Washington defense that really has struggled against opposing receivers. It's a very risky play, but when you look at some of the receivers that are on bye this week, I think you could make a case for someone like Mooney entering that wide receiver 4 flex play territory this specific week. So I'm holding. But again, if you can improve your roster by dropping someone like a Mooney, by dropping someone like an Allen Robinson, these are all guys I prefer holding. But if you can if you can upgrade your roster by dropping them, I'm not going to tell you not to drop these guys, just because they haven't been producing to what expectations.
Armando Marcel from fantasyguru.com. So glad to have you on. Hope to get you on again soon.
Yes, Doctor. Thank you so much for having me on. Always a blast talking to you. Appreciate you, man. Have a good one, okay?
You got it. Take care, my friend. All right, when we come back, we're going to take a first look at the games of Week 6. What am I seeing? We'll let you know when we return right after this.
Make bets and follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Bettor Sports Network.
Surely. Kickers never retire, I think. They just continue playing for all eternity. Like, there's only ever been 30 NFL kickers.
They're always readily available too. It seems like, you know what I mean. Like they just get called up. They're like, you kicked for us 10 years ago, right? Why don't you
run it back? That's right. I imagine
Graham
every
Gano,
single kicker that gets the call is on a high school football field somewhere, just practicing field goals after hours. Like it's like 9 p.m. and they're out there just in the local high school kicking field goals, and the phone rings. They get a call and they're like, "Yeah, I'm ready. I've been practicing for this."
I have an amazing kicker story. If you guys have a second.
I got a couple.
The number one all-time field goal kicker is Adam Vinatieri. The next two, Jordan and Gary Anderson, right? Gary Anderson was a dude from like South Africa that just played rugby and soccer. He just could absolutely boot the ball, right? They bring him over and he does like a tryout and he's just absolutely crushing the ball. And all these colleges are like, dude, we want you to come kick field goals for us. And he goes, I don't even want to play football. He goes, I want to play soccer. He goes, I want to play soccer. He goes, so if I can come to your school and play soccer, I'll also, in the fall, I'll kick for the football team. And Syracuse was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, you're on the soccer team. Like, come on. And he went to Syracuse to play soccer, but also kick field goals. And then he ended up being a top 3 point scorer in the NFL all the time.
That's ridiculous.
And his answer to recruiters was, I don't want to play football. I'll do it in my spare time.
Yeah. He's like, you got a spot for me in the soccer team. Syracuse is like, yeah, we got a spot for you.
We don't even care about our soccer team.
We don't even care.
We totally have that spot.
Right? They had to like cobble together a soccer team. This guy's the captain.
Oh my God. It's like Accepted, the movie, but they just like had to throw together a whole fake soccer team.
Somehow they still got Justin Long.
Right, yeah. Like Adam Sandler's the coach. And dude, imagine they win the national championship. That's a movie, dog. Yeah.
Boom!
Someone call up Disney. Yeah, we just wrote a movie for you, Disney. This has Disney sports movie written all over. I'm borderline crying right here just thinking about this movie right now.
Dude, the story gets even crazier. Like I should have looked it up again, but like it was like a high school coach that went and found him, and then that high school crazy famous that like coached for the Rams.
Stay tuned for sports. Talk about your picks, your fantasy teams, and your sports collectibles on Bettor Sports Network.
The doctor is in. Get your prescription to win fantasy sports and betting on Bettor Sports Network.
All right, we're back. I want to just check something first before I do this. Let's see. The Guardians and Yankees are tied at 1 in the top of the 4th. The Phillies beat the Braves 7-6. Well, a little shocking there. And the Astros come back in that after being down, beat the Mariners 8-7. The hearts of all Seattle fans are crushed. Crushed, I tell you. And let's see. The Rangers are beating the Lightning 1-0. Hockey is back. All right, so let's get to the NFL. And what I like to do here is take a first look of the games and something that I'll be looking for, something that I'll be paying close attention to. The Commanders and Bears. I'll be looking at my pillow. No, I'm kidding. Let's see. I will be looking at Cole Kmet and Darnell Mooney and see whether or not they can finally continue what they did against the Vikings and improve. For the Commanders, I'm looking at Brian Robinson, dude. Let's go. Welcome back. I'm proud of you. Let's see what you can do. The Ravens and the Giants. Oh, man. Cinderella slippers. This has the makings of Wink Martindale's coming in. You know he knows how to play Lamar. You know it. But you also know Lamar has not had some great games. He's due. So I'm definitely looking at Lamar in this game and what's going on. For the Giants, I am looking at Saquon. And can he continue to be the number 1 running back in football? For the 49ers, I am looking at Tevin Coleman. Is this a thing? Because if it's a thing, I'm not going to be happy. For the Falcons, I'm going to be looking very carefully at Marcus Mariota. Because if they're losing 16-0 at halftime, is it Desmond Ridder time? Oh, by the way, just quick. Jalen says, Doc, the arbitrage betting has been unreal. Randall had great insight and advice. Arbitrage betting is the way to go. I will be talking about this all the time. I promise you that. I promise you we're going to be talking about arbitrage betting. It is the way to make money. I know. Spy says, keep it here. I promise you, I'm going to give you free money. I'm going to give you free money. When football season starts phasing out, I'm going to phase arbitrage betting in, and we're going to make a whole lot of money together, you and I. I promise you that. Okay? It's facts. Patriots and Browns, I'm looking at Ramondre Stevenson. I'll be looking very carefully. The Browns, I am looking at Nick Chubb. Chubb versus Stevenson. Good game here. Jets, Packers. Can the Packers come back here? The Packers are playing at home. This should be one of those games where Aaron Rodgers puts the boot down and stomps on the Jets. Or are the Packers done? Is this an A.J. Dillon week too? For the Jets, Breece Hall and Michael Carter against the Packers that don't have a good run defense. I'm watching that carefully. Breece Hall Roto is my dude. Jaguars and Colts, ETN. Watching him. For the Colts, is JT back? Is Jonathan Taylor back? What's going on there? Vikings and Dolphins. The Vikings on the road. I want to see how they play. Can they get Justin Jefferson involved on the road? They do a better job of getting him involved at home. The Dolphins, Raheem Mostert. Is Teddy B, was Skylar Thompson there? Is it Teddy B? We don't know yet. We'll find out more when I see you guys on Friday. Bengals and Saints. Man, the Bengals. Pick it up. Play better. Where's Jamar Chase Roto? Where is he? The Saints, is Jameis Winston playing? Is Michael Thomas playing? What's going on there? What's Taysom Hill doing? Watching that. Buccaneers and Steelers. Always I'm looking at Kenny Pickett to George Pickens, seeing where that goes. For the Buccaneers, can Leonard Fournette continue playing at this high level? Panthers and Rams. I don't even know what I'm looking at with the Panthers. I guess DJ Moore. No Baker Mayfield. PJ Walker there. Does PJ throw to DJ? I hope so. For the Rams, can this offensive line play better? Can Cooper Kupp continue doing what he's doing? Can Allen Robinson make a play? Please. Cardinals and Seahawks. For the Seahawks, Kenneth Walker, baby. I'm staring at you, dude. Staring at you. For the Cardinals, Eno Benjamin. I'm staring at him. Bills and Chiefs. I'm just watching this game. But I will say this, and I'm feeling it right now. The Bills cover tight ends well. If the Bills take Kelsey out of this game, where's the success going to come from the Chiefs? I have to figure that out. It's going to take me a couple of days. I have some ideas where it's going to be, but I know this is a high-scoring game. I got to find the points. Cowboys and Eagles. How does Micah Parsons do against Jalen Hurts? I'm watching that. That is a big, big question. Big. And on the other side, how's Cooper Rush doing? How does CD Lamb doing? Want to watch that carefully. Broncos and Chargers, for sure. Russell Wilson and his injury. And, of course, the backfield of the Broncos. And then for the Chargers, is Keenan Allen back? Who's that second receiver there? Patrick Surtain can cover Mike Williams. The Broncos defense has been keeping them in games. So, going to watch that carefully too. There's a lot to pay attention to. There's a lot to be talking about. So where are you going to find me over the next few days? You find me at drroto.com, right? Can't wait to be there. So if you need anything for seasonal, DFS, prop betting, you check me out at drroto.com. But right now it's time to put away the insurance cards, put away the copay. The office is closed, my friends. I want to thank Tyler and Anthony for all they do on the show. And remember, keep it right here. There's a replay of Front Yard Fantasy. Our morning show will be here when I step out. Okay? So I will be back on Friday night at 10 p.m. If they move me up, I'll let you know. But in case they don't, I'll be here from 10 p.m. to midnight. All right, guys. Good luck in waivers. Spend on Walker. Spend on Taysom. Don't overspend elsewhere. Keep that money. You might need it. All right. I appreciate you guys listening. All those guys out there, I appreciate you listening. And let's build this show up. Let's make it great. And we'll keep on doing this together. All right. This is Dr. Roto saying be well and take care.
Thank you.